During the 1980s, and for the first half of the 1990s, Only Fools and Horses was essential viewing and one of television's great comedy success stories. In 1996, the show reached its conclusion with a trilogy of hour-long specials. The show had gone out on a high note, and the characters had achieved their lifetime's ambitions. It was decided to bring the show back, for reasons that have never been adequately explained, apart from maybe the BBC couldn't come up with any new ideas. This was despite the fact that one of its stars, Buster Merryfield, had passed away, and so the original point of the series, three men from different generations, was lost. If the show had to come back, then surely it should have come back with the Trotters as millionaires. This would move the series onto a different level, and they would still have something to aim for. This time next year we'll be billionaires. Instead there is a very contrived reset. The Trotters lose all their money, and they're back in Nelson Mandela House in the same flat.
Our house, in the middle of our street, our house.
Strangely, after all this time, no one else is living there. The update on the Trotters' lives could have been explained in a prologue, or a voiceover at the beginning, and the show could have got on with telling a new story. Instead, half the episode seems to be devoted to a series of flashbacks, and also Uncle Albert's funeral. This could have been a way of demonstrating that the show can have darker moments, for example, Grandfather's funeral in one of the early episodes. Instead, it's all just a setup for a feeble, "we've come to the wrong funeral" joke. Although a moment where Del defends Uncle Albert's good name at least recalls the Del boy of old. Kenneth MacDonald, who played Mike at the Nag's Head, had also passed on, and so we suddenly have Sid as the governor instead.
I was standing in the pub, talking to the boys.
We're told that Mike is in jail for fraud, but it's doubtful the brewery would allow a friend of his, who for all they know might have been in on it, to take over the pub. And there's no point in saying, oh, it's only a comedy, because no matter how ludicrous the situations in past episodes, Only Fools and Horses had always felt real. None of these issues would have been a problem if it had been a good episode, but the humour just feels forced. Del's son Damien is utterly unlikable and just grates on the viewer's nerves, while some of the other characters just seem like caricatures of their former selves. Trigger, for example, is now a cartoon dimwit, and it's even suggested at one point he's mentally ill. And there's a scene in which Rodney dresses up as a Roman centurion. This scene seems to exist for two reasons. It's a somewhat desperate attempt to recapture the success of a previous episode, but the fact is, unlike the Batman and Robin scenes, which remain one of the all-time classics, this scene has absolutely no point or payoff to it whatsoever. It's just, look at the funny costumes. And the scene also seems to exist to prove that Rodney is a complete moron. At one point, Mickey Pearce fools him into thinking he's talking to the Sultan of Brunei. Rodney started out as young and innocent in the early episodes, but he was never as stupid as this episode treats him. Other little comedy moments involve Del gawping at Cassandra in her underwear, Damien watching her in the shower, somebody mentioning a fast finger while we overhear what Rodney and Cassandra are up to in the bedroom, and Delboy going to a lap dancing club. These are the kind of jokes that would have been more suited to an episode of Bottom. And of course there's Delboy's appearance on a game show. It's Gold Rush and the Rainbow Road, hosted by Jonathan Ross. These scenes are unbelievably gimmicky, and when a comedy show has to resort to this kind of thing, along with big name guest stars, you know it's on a downward spiral. The fact is that Del and Rodney have already been millionaires, so now the show has nothing to aim for. There doesn't seem to be any kind of point to it. There were two more Only Fools and Horses specials after this, both of which were a vast improvement over this episode, and were actually enjoyable. But when this episode went out, Christmas 2001, we were made to feel as though the memory of one of our favourite TV shows had been utterly destroyed.
Nothing ever slows her down and a mess is not allowed.